Welcome to Game Set Smash, where the explosion is the story and the tea is the proof. This week we transitioned from Indian Wells to Miami Open, part 2 of the Sunshine Swing, with our very own Sunshine Debate. Let's get this show started. Welcome to Game Set Smash. I'm your host Leah Davidov, the brains behind and the beauty of this magical show in front of you. Before we congratulate the Indian Wells champions, let's talk about a few of the notable moments leading up to them winning the title. For one, the Draper-Medvedev dispute needs to be settled. Here's what happened. Let's break down the Medvedev-Draper dispute so every tennis fan from casual to die-hard can understand what's going on. The moment in question is right here, where Draper lifts up his arm midpoint after hitting a forehand. Part of the debate is whether or not that action falls under hinderance, a tennis rule that faults a player for deliberately distracting their opponent. Normally, the players or umpires would stop the point when an active hindrance is noticed, but as you can see, they went on to continue it through. In this case, Medvedev only called hindrance after losing the point, which is where the other half of the argument lies. It can be assumed that if Medvedev had won the point, he wouldn't have called hindrance on Draper. This breakdown is part of Game Set Smash's mission to make tennis digestible for every kind of fan. We're answering all the questions and comments you have to make sure you're in the know of all the tennis happenings. Stay smashing, my friends! Before I suggest you follow us on Instagram, let's make it clear, Draper is right. This was not a hindrance, the umpire didn't call it, and Medvedev only did because he lost the point. Okay, so now I'd like to take this time to remind you we're on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all of that fun stuff. Follow us and join in on our tennis conversations where we make the tennis happenings more digestible for fans like you. Bring up your questions and interests in the sport. Tell us what you want to see smashed. Let's work together to fall in love with tennis and blow things up for fun. One of the many fun things we talk about here is how Carlos Alcaraz dressed up like a bee. It's been 2 years since his quarterfinal match at Indian Wells was disrupted by a swarm of bees, and it's still one of the funnier reasons for suspension of match. This year, after his quarterfinal win against Cameron Norrie, Alcaraz joined in a group of fans who were already dressed up like bees, put on a costume, and turned all stripy himself. Calling all Alcaraz lookalikes in the world, we need you to dress up like Alcaraz and a bee for Halloween. Please and thank you. Okay, now we can congratulate our Indian Wells champions. They head to Miami Open, hoping to be the first player since 2022 to win both the Indian Wells and My Open title, otherwise known as the Sunshine Double. Out of our 2 champions this year, I'm curious who you believe has what it takes to win the Sunshine Double. Everyone who competed in California now crosses over to the Sunshine State to compete in the back-to-back 1000s level tournament. In this transition week, our episode will highlight both events. Up next is a compilation of field reporter Leah's celebrity interviews from Desert Smash. In case you missed it, as part of our Indian Wells happenings this year, Game Set Smash was invited to Desert Smash. Last week we published all of the player interviews like Alex de Minaur, Bryan Brothers, Elina Svitolina, Lorenzo Musetti. All of the insane things they have to say are published in last week's episode, so make sure to check it out. And this week, we've got all the celebrities from that purple carpet coming to you. After the celebrity interviews from Indian Wells, we'll be playing a little segment called Sunshine Debate, where we'll be comparing both Indian Wells and Miami Open. And as you know, every episode of Game Set Smash ends in a heart-throbbing smash. And this week is no different. We are smashing a massive sun in honor of the Sunshine State and the Miami Open. Think of it like a symbolic gong that'll get absolutely destroyed for entertainment purposes. With that breakdown of our transition episode from Indian Wells and Miami Open, it's time to hear what the celebrities had to say about tennis back in Desert Smash. Can I steal you for some unserious but very smashing questions out here?
I love unserious.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, tell me.
You're the right person for these. If you could challenge any competitor here to a serious tennis match, who are you challenging?
Mboka all day long.
Zverev, press his forehand.
I'm joking. He's a great player. I had dinner with him last night, and we were talking about tennis. But yeah, so I'd like to play with him just because he's so freaking good.
John Lovitz. I think I could probably beat him.
There's someone who's been playing with my coach for a while, and he's gotten really good. So Pete Wentz, you know.
I saw Venus earlier, so I want to go for the top dog. I'd probably go with Venus.
Now it's time for the Sunshine Debate, where I'll be comparing Indian Wells and Miami Open based on my opinion and my opinion alone on, let's see, 13 different accounts. I'm warning you now, there will be little to no explanation. This is simply a gut feeling as someone who has been to Indian Wells twice and Miami Open still none, but we're trying. Food, Indian Wells. Location, Indian Wells. Sunshininess, I'd like to think Miami Open has the slight edge here because it's in the Sunshine State. Celebrity appearances, Indian Wells. Which one is more underestimated? Definitely Miami Open, because Indian Wells is highly regarded as the undisclosed fifth slam of the calendar. Affordability, Miami Open. Fan presence, Indian Wells. Relatability, I'm assuming it's Miami Open because Indian Wells is definitely leaning into that tennis aesthetic. Pickling, I'm assuming that refers to pickleball and not the act of pickling vegetables. I'm giving the point to Indian Wells here, even though the point technically goes to Desert Smash, which hosts the celebrity pickleball exhibition match ahead of Indian Wells. The next one on my list is accents, and my gut is telling me that Miami Open has a little more flair, a little more spice in that department. Weather. Okay, we gave Miami the sunshininess of it all, but I'd like to think Palm Springs weather is comparable, so I'm definitely going that way because field reporter Leah did come back with a tan. Fashion, I'm gonna have to give it to Indian Wells. And anticipation, Indian Wells definitely has a little bit more of an excitement behind it, that's for sure. That was our Sunshine Debate hosted by yours truly, the host of the show. I'm curious if you agree with me on any of these 13 accounts, and if you have any other accounts that you'd like me to issue my opinion for, step forth, my friends. Step forth. Before we get into our upcoming tournaments of the week, which we all know is basically Miami, let's see what our musical guest has in store this evening. We've gone from the celebrity interviews at Desert Smash to comparing Indian Wells and Miami Open, and now we're here reminding you that the Miami Open is in fact the upcoming tournament this week. The top players around the world will be once again competing in singles and doubles at this back-to-back 1000s level tournament event. We'll be keeping an extra special eye on our Indian Wells champions as they attempt to win the Sunshine Double with a victory in Miami Open in the same calendar year. This 2-week tournament will take us through the end of March, but we will have a mid-Miami episode next week, so make sure to check us out right back here next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Subscribing to this channel does automatically notify you when our next episode drops, just an FYI. Thought that information might be useful, I don't know. Anyways, now that you're subscribed, let's get to smashing, shall we? We've got a massive sun hanging like a piñata on a tree, ready to be absolutely demolished in honor of the Sunshine State and the Miami Open. Consider this our toast to part 2 of the Sunshine Swing. We've got a racket. I'm gonna warm up my serve really quickly just to get, the serving motion. Ugh. And then if that doesn't work, and so I don't get sued by Head for using an old racket, we're gonna go at it with a hammer. So here we go. We're gonna take a few more warm-up, swings, and we'll get into it. As always, safety first. Now that I'm warmed up, it's time to get smashing. Ooh. That's what a great serve can get you on the Pro Tour, a smashing success. As always, I will see you next time. Oh my god, no. So he totally blew me off. No, I know. I mean, who does he think he is? Matteo Berrettini? My guy, you're a solid Sheldon at best. Ugh.